Hey, this is Ken Hegler. Jedipastorken Ken is another name that I go by online. And I'm sitting out here today with the Carnes family, with Thomas and Bessie and Luther. This is a family that is a part of Mizpah United Methodist Church. I'm out here in the cemetery and looking at all of the plots out here. There's so many families and so many stories that go along. This is a family that knew a lot of the difficulties of life. We know from just looking at it that Thomas was a veteran from World War I and died far too early. Their son Luther, just down the way, died when he was 6 years old, and Bessie lived for a long time. When we look at their plots, when we look at their headstones, we see two dates: the birth date and the day that they died. And so oftentimes it's called the dash, or that space, and that's where life is lived. That's where all the stories of their life are listed. Back in 2016, I lost my wife to cancer, and about a year later, I wrote a book called Life Sucks, Seek God. And it was a book about my journey. It was a book about my family. It was a book in part inspired by many caregivers that I got to know during that time, as I cared for my wife for 20 months as she suffered and struggled in her faith and her journey and her body with colon cancer. I share these things because they're important. And with that, I also did a study guide that's available on my website at www.kenhegler.com. The book is going to be free on Mother's Day for download on Kindle. If you have a Kindle app, you can get the book for free. You can give it away as a gift to somebody in your family. And it's something that I want you to have. I want to give it away because it's not just for me. It's my story. And starting with this, I'm going to be doing about 7 videos to go with those 7 sessions of the small group study and individual guide. Because when you go through times of grief and struggle, and you face the reality that life sometimes sucks, sometimes there's not a guide along the way. There's not people willing to be honest and share that. I made it through that time. I still struggle day in and day out. I never know when grief might hit. The caregivers that I've come to know and call my friends share many of the very same things, but we keep going, and we seek to try to get through life just a little bit better. The one thing that I want to give to you, though, is the hope that God doesn't leave us. Even in the midst of the times that it feels like God's not there, he is. God is constantly there as a God with us, and I implore you to seek God. If it wasn't for my relationship with God and the things that I've learned along my years as a pastor, as a spiritual director, and as a caregiver, as an only parent, I wouldn't have any wisdom to give. And maybe I don't, but I share my life. I share my story. And I invite you to journey with me with that. If you're going through a difficult time, it may not be cancer. It may not be being a caregiver. It could be job loss. It could be any number of things. You're not alone. And even when life sucks, there's every reason to seek God. Would you join me on this journey? You can find links here on this video as well as on my webpage. May the force be with you, and may God bless you and give you peace.